Today, I want to talk about customer testimonials and how you can essentially maximize them and get the most out of them. Because I think personally, customer testimonials are the most efficient use of your time as a business owner or as a marketing executive to get the biggest bang for your buck or the biggest return on your investment for either time or actual money investment. I think the outweighed gains that you can get from a well put together customer testimonial video far outweigh the investment and the time investment that you might put into, say, a brand awareness campaign or a company overview video. A well-placed customer testimonial video that is constructed well with story and narrative backing is so powerful and can really change the way that your business functions. And if we can start to do that at scale and not just create one every now and then, and we can build a system around that, that's when you can really see outsized returns on your investment when it comes to video. And I do have a free AI prompt that I have linked below, which is really going to help streamline your process and answer a lot of questions that you may not have had. Not going to tell you this is going to solve all of your problems, but it's definitely going to set you up for success in terms of building a testimonial that is rooted in story and can gain some sort of emotional advantage over your competitors where they might be asking very generic questions. This AI response, this AI generator is going to populate a list of questions that are based around narrative and storytelling and creating an emotional connection with your audience, which is ultimately the goal of any type of marketing, whether it be a comedic relief or just an emotional connection. We want to generate some sort of connection beyond the obvious and beyond just the visual and audible connection that we can create with videos. The emotional connection is where the real value is. And if you're new here, my name's Adam Sewell. I've run a production studio for over a decade and we've grown it from 0 to multiple 7 figures. I've worked with some of the biggest brands on the planet and worked on probably a lot of projects that you have actually seen either on TV or online somewhere. And the only reason I say that is so that you can kind of understand the perspective and the experience that I have in what I talk about here. And if you're new to this channel, it's very off the cuff for me. I don't really do too much preparation in these videos. It just, well, personally, it's I wouldn't do it if I had to prepare and do a lot of pre-production on these videos. So I just do it so I can actually create stuff and just talk to the camera one-on-one. The best thing for me is for you to get down in the comments and ask any questions, or if you want me to take a deeper dive into anything specifically, that's the best way for me to either come up with ideas and maybe provide a little bit more value for you guys. So get down there, subscribe to the channel. I think as of recording, 32 subscribers. So barely even started this thing. So I want to continue doing it. And just because it helps me articulate my points a little clearer, that then I can then, take it on to speaking to clients or wherever it may be. But anyway, let's jump into it. First thing I'd say is just go down below and you can download that free prompt for you. I'm sorry if you hear the kids in the background. They're heading out the door to school. Go down in the link and download the prompt. It's like I say, I'm giving it away for free, and then we can walk through this together. So we'll just jump into the screen and walk through it step by step. So as you can see here, we start off just by copy and pasting the prompt into any AI. It can be ChatGPT, it can be Claude, it can be whichever one you're most comfortable with. And then that is going to respond to you by asking you a series of questions. These are going to be based around your company, your brand, whoever you're creating these for. If you're, maybe you're a production studio yourself or an agency, you're just going to put your client's information in here. But you want to go as deep as you can, so it may require additional kind of research and communication with your client in this regard. So essentially, you're going to put their website and a short description about their business, their mission and vision statements, the brand target audience, some common objectives, the main benefits and transformations, any measurable results or proof points that you can use that can, be used in the question generation. The preferred tone of style, and this is just focusing purely on your brand and how you like to communicate out into the world. If you have a very dialed in brand voice, then you would take that into consideration here. Any industry-specific compliance or sensitivity rules. I would say this is an optional, but I think the more information that you feed this, the better the response you're going to get, the more accurate the response you're going to get is. And then examples of testimonials that you like. So if you have seen stuff either from a competitor or from just another, even a business in a different industry, I think you can put this stuff in here and it'll give it some context of what you like personally and what your style is. If you don't put anything in here, I think that's fine as well, because ultimately we're trying to develop something here from the ground up. This is going to take best practices of what I've kind of put in the primary prompt that I've created for you anyway. So there is potential of it creating bad habits if you do put stuff into this examples of testimonials you require. So that's I would just take that into consideration when building that. So I went ahead and already like ran this through, and I used Nike as an example that everyone knows. So you can kind of see some of the responses that I've put in here. Obviously, their website and a short description. Nike's a world leader in sport, innovating footwear, apparel, and digital experiences that can help every person, regardless of ability, background, pursue movement, fitness, and their vision for athletic potential. So again, you should have this. It should be just your mission statement or your vision statement, whatever it may be. Let's put that in there. Again, reiterating the mission and vision statement next, copy and paste yours into there. If you don't have one, you should have one and come up with one and put it in here. Your primary target audience, we're talking demographics here, so age, gender, location, maybe income. You can get into the psychographics if you have that data as well. You can get a little bit more detailed. But if you notice here what we've put in to give it, again, this is just providing information for the AI to work upon. You'll see here, skeptical but open, has tried other brands and heard claims but wants proof. They value gear that does more. So people know that one pair of shorts is not any different to another pair of shorts, but it's a marketing thing in this regard. So, how can you communicate that value here, and how can the AI help you frame your questions around that kind of outlook on a product? So, what do they think they like in shorts versus what do they know that they like in shorts? Those are two very different things. Again, appreciate brand stories, but cares more about, did it help me? So this is a very interesting perspective to, they want real results, but they do appreciate the aspirational and inspirational side of a brand. So these are things that you need to spend a lot of time with. This is a fairly lengthy response that we put together here, but this is just a good context. And here I've just more of a written response. I used AI to respond to these because it's Nike and the information is already out there. I used it to generate a lot of the information here. I just went through and edited a few things and took some stuff out that wasn't necessary for the AI. But you can kind of see what we're getting at here. Industry specific compliance. We put some stuff in here, but it's not 100% necessary depending on the industry that you're in. And it's as simple as that. This is going to take some time. I would recommend spending time. The more time you spend and the more accurate the information and thoughtful the information that you put into your response here, the better response you're going to get from the AI. And it's not like these questions need to be generated for every single customer. These are very broad, and you'll see from the answers and the questions that we have here, the types of responses that we're going to be able to generate from this information. So if you feel like you want to really invest into customer testimonial videos and you're going to be doing more than one, which I recommend you should be, then spend some time on this, do this properly. You probably only have to do it once or twice over the course of the months. Maybe you'll tweak some of your responses to the AI from the learnings that you make, but it's important to do it right the first time. Now, here you'll see what we've done. And the key thing here is to just acknowledge that you've got this structure that has been formed. You've got the before, the during, the after, and then the advocacy, which is a bonus. So it's essentially like these are going to be able to create some sound bites that are going to really be punchy on social and across different platforms. But let's just go through a few examples of what it's come up with from using this structure. And this is the structure that has been taught, right? So this was the initial prompt. This is what this prompt tells the AI to do and how to work it. So before, can you take me back to the moment when you first thought, I need to change something in your fitness movement journey? What was going through your head? How would you describe your relationship with fitness or sports back then? What did a typical week look like for you? And before Nike, what was holding you back the most? gear, confidence, time, motivation, or something else? You see how these are really different than, you know, tell us about what it was like before Nike. That's a very generic. And these are some of the questions that are actually used. I've seen in real life that are proposed by companies to go towards their customers and ask. There is just so much more that can be done. And just imagine the type of response that a question like this would warrant versus tell me about your life before discovering Nike apparel. It's not even in the same planet. They're not even the same. They're not the same. They're completely different. And this goes on down. So we have the before, which is obviously the problem, addressing the problem in the story. Now we're going to the actual meat of the story, the during. What was the first moment you seriously considered trying Nike gear and joining a Nike experience or run club? What hesitations or doubts were running through your mind at that point? Was there a specific story, ad, or friend or experience that made you go, okay, I'm in? And when your Nike order arrived for the first time, what did you notice? What did it feel like? What did it look like? What did it sound like and even smell like? So these are really getting into, the senses here, like directly correlating to feel, look, sound, and smell. It's just a very interesting way of framing a question and prompting a response that you probably wouldn't consider when when thinking about either your product or your service that you offer. Obviously, these are very tailored towards the Nike brand, and that's the point of this prompt. But this is going to give you such nuance and kind of detail around your brand if you give it the right context to work from in your initial response here. And that's why this initial response is extremely important. I could give you a prompt that would just send you some generic testimonial questions, but you're not going to get any value from that. The value comes from you giving it the context and then the AI doing the heavy lifting in terms of just taking that context and applying it in the most effective way. And then we move on to our after transformations and results. Looking back now, what changed for you in your daily routine or mindset since you started using Nike gear? Can you describe a specific win or milestone that made you think, I'm really doing this? How do you feel about yourself now when you lace up your shoes compared to before? See, again, it's asking very specific and emotionally driven questions. How do you feel now? Not tell us about before and tell us about now. It's how do you feel? And that word, just feel on its own, is going to elicit such a different response than just tell us about. How do you feel is going to warrant a more emotional response and how it made them feel in that moment. And this all sounds very obvious, but this is something that I see daily that companies just completely ignore. And this is such powerful stuff. Once you have all of these individual building blocks, you're able to build a full story, a full narrative, something that's going to connect with your audience on a completely different level to everything that you've done before. And that's why this is so important. And then advocacy, championing the brand. Finally, these questions were crafted to spark word-of-mouth storytelling and influence new buyers. And this is great. If a friend said, I'm not really an athlete, Nike's not for me, what would you tell them? Imagine someone standing where you once were, unsure, a little intimidated. What would you want to hear? What would you want them to hear from you in your story? And this goes to that personal level, that deep level that you can't necessarily access when someone is maybe sitting on a webcam or sitting in front of you on camera, and they maybe feel slightly vulnerable and slightly nervous in that space. Talk to them directly. Don't talk to them as if they are just a word. They're not just a voice for the brand or the company they're representing. You're talking to them directly now. Like, what do you want to tell them? If a friend said to you, these are all the very things that are going to just shift their perspective on answering their questions. And, the next thing is just compiling that. You've got all of the tools here that you need. And maybe we'll talk about that in a future video about how to actually construct a testimonial based on these sorts of questions and the responses that you get. I would say the key things that you can take away from here, and one of the things that you should consider when interviewing a customer is these are obviously sets of questions I think you should answer. You should ask all of these because they're all going to warrant a different response. There might be some overlap, and you can just contextualize that at the beginning. You can just preface that with the client, say, "Hey, there's a bunch of questions here. Some of them might be, contradictory or overlap in their responses. We just want you to answer them in full, if that's fine with you. And then I'll probably have some spin-off questions that come based on your responses. And then again, that's where you're going to jump in and look for opportunities to uncover deeper levels of story. Maybe they give you an example that you really want to hear more detail about. Say, hey, let's hold here for a second. I just want to unpack what you just said there. Can you give us that example? But always tie it back to the purpose of the video. You never know what sort of soundbite or social media short is going to come out of those types of questions or those little moments in an interview. I'm just giving you this as a foundational element, as a template, if you like, to build upon. Use these going into your next interview, and I guarantee that you're going to get different types of responses and responses that you can actually use that are going to resonate an emotional connection with your next customer or your prospective customers in the marketplace. Now, again, down below in the description, first line, I'm going to link the free download where you can get this prompt and just put it into your AI, and it'll work with you on generating this list of questions. And it's going to be very different from customer to customer. I don't want to give you just a templated response of good testimonial questions when we have access to AI, which can really just help you generate very specific questions for you and your company. And again, this is kind of a new format for me. So if you're new here, if you haven't subscribed yet, again, as of this video, let me double check here. 32 subscribers, I believe. Let's see. Oh, 33. We've gone up one. Let's see. Can we get focused there? 33 subscribers. So brand new. We'll use this as a data point going forward and see where we are in a few weeks when we keep building these videos. But subscribe if you can, if you're feeling so kind. Leave a like, ask a question in the comments. I have a free school community as well that if you'd like to join. That's where I spend most of my time and answer questions for people. Again, still very new there, but I think it's going to be a place where we can build a community around business owners who are interested in video and creating content strategically to actually drive revenue. And that's what we'll be doing over there. So again, use this prompt. It's my gift to you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.